Dusnoir willing to tank a charge move. Foul play simply doesn't get the job done. The opponent already invested one protect shield. Dusnoir looking for that kill shot. Fires off the dynamic punch. The opponent goes all shields down. Look for that snarl farm down. But Dusnoir simply will not be denied. Taking back switch. Welcome back to the channel. Unfortunately, Ultra League won't be around for much longer. But we've still got time to drop yet another banger of a battle submission from my good friend Summers, aka Cutlassboy. Outside of the realm of Shadow Pokemon, the other things I enjoy in the Go Battle League are some spicy anti-meta picks, and I think today's Summers is showcasing the biggest anti-meta monster of them all, and that is Ferrathorn. I showcased Shadow Ferrathorn last season in Ultra League. Again, it was pretty good, but unfortunately very high risk, high reward. Last season, fighters and fire types were all too common. If you fast forward to this season, we've got not one, but two new meta water types that are pretty much keeping them fire types scared in Blastoise and Lapras respectively. Even fighters are a lot more difficult to run this season. The buff to ghosts, as well as stuff like Golisopod and Weezing, make fighters incredibly difficult to run, and trust me, I'd know. I've tried my double monkey team and got absolutely clapped, going 8 and 17. With a lot of Ferrathorn's counters now pushed out the meta, its unique grass steel typing make it such a strong pick. It's actually a grass type able to resist common poison type damage. Team partners today are going to be a Pokemon that I simply just am going to name the beast. My god, Dusnoir, with access to that ghost fighting type coverage that is currently unresisted in Pokemon Go, is just such a good save switch. Without any further ado, let's get into the battles. And in game one, we see a familiar face. Shout out fellow content creator Purple Kyogre. When I was running Ferrathorn, this was a very dicey matchup, as it was kind of 50-50 if they had Overheat or Play Rough. However, nowadays, the Shadow runs Sludge and Brutal Swing, meaning Ferrathorn is very dominant. Speaking of which, we full sent the Flash Cannon. Purple Kyogre simply's had enough, and he's going to concede the match. What a quick game. Heading into the next battle, we see Ferrathorn into one of them common poison types. Ferrathorn are very advantageous into Tentacruel. Unless they're running that Hail Mary Blizzard, they can only hit for resisted. The opponent pivots out after banking some energy, sending out Giratina. Summers opts to throw the Flash Cannon, force some chip and dip, and then sends out Moltres. After landing that Flash Cannon, looks like Summers looking for that full Sucker Punch farm down. But the former meta Kingpin Giratina, so incredibly bulky, able to reach the part in Dragon Claw, and Summers now down a Protect Shield. However, in exchange for that, he's got almost 100 energy, or probably already at 100 energy on his Moltres. Back out comes Tentacruel. Summers looks to force his shield back. Fires off the Brave Bird. Brave Bird gets no respect. Summers then able to reach the Ancient Power, and I think that might actually be a CMP tie. The opponent looks to dump energy before Moltres able to reach the second Brave Bird, but unfortunately it just hasn't worked out for him. Summers gets Tentacruel deep into the red. We then send back out Ferrathorn, and it's Guzzlord in the back. If Ferrathorn was running Thunder, and this was last season, Guzzlord will have no problem cleaning up, but the Flash Cannon going to hit for neutral damage, and a lot of neutral damage at that, and Dusnoir now has access to Dynamic Punch, which is going to do very big damage. I'm quite surprised to see the opponent not throw a charge move before the second Flash Cannon is reached. All Flash Cannon forces the final Protect Shield, and it looks like the opponent's going to be unable to farm down. Moment of truth, do they have Crunch or do they have Brutal Swing? They're on Brutal Swing. That is great information to know. That is going to enable Dusnoir to tank one charge move and not really be in danger of getting fast move beat down either. Summers does need to be mindful. The opponent has a catch opportunity with that Tentacruel that is energy dry. The opponent goes for the catch. Summers like no catch will be made today. Dusnoir farms down. Leaves with the double dynamic punch. You saw the Dragon Tail come through, so if the first dynamic punch isn't enough to get the job done, the second certainly will be removing them from the field of play. Very well played, Summers, and he emerges victorious. GG's. Heading into the next battle. Oh baby, it's another Weezing, as this one is the regular. I'll be honest, I'm still somewhat worried they could have a potential overheat. The opponent throws the 7 Fairy Winds required for the overheat, and Summers instantly no shields. What a call, it's just a Brutal Swing, and once again he's full sending. Does this opponent respect the damage? Oh boy, there's another Flash Cannon. Unfortunately, the non-shadow one doesn't quite one-shot, but instantly puts them into the red health range. The opponent firing off Brutal Swing after Brutal Swing. You can see the regular variant of Weezing just doesn't quite have that damage output with these Brutal Swings in neutral situations. Summers goes for the Power Whip. Power Whip is resisted, but enables us to win that zero shield scenario. Out comes Primate. Summers stays in. looks to get to the power whip. The opponent denies the energy, firing off the rage fist, vamping up their attack. An energy lead boosted primate is quite scary for our backline. Summers sends out Dusnoir. We shield up the second one, which is one stage boosted, but I think an argument could be made that we had to tank that, knowing the opponent is never ever going to be karate chop farming us down. Summers invest both protect shields. He fires off the correct one hex and the shadow punch. Shadow punch, to my surprise, actually goes unshielded. Not too often you see a boosted primate willing to tank a charge move, but it works out very nicely for Summers. We then make a very nice rage fist catch onto Galarian Moltres, where the damage is resisted, and out comes Malamar. Despite Summers being down both protect shields, he's able to force one back, and this Malamar is going to have a very tough time of removing Moltres from the field of play. The opponent fire off the foul play, hoping we're now in superpower range, but Moltres simply refuses to die, and these sideways are double resisted. Summers going to force in the Brave Bird. Brave Bird forces the final protect shield. We go for that wham, bam combo play, fire off the neutral dynamic punch, picking up the knockout one hex, removes primate, and we take that game. I think if the opponent shielded that primate, we could have been in a spot of bother, but of course the opponent didn't know what we had in the back, and hindsight is always 50-50. In the next battle, we see a disastrous lead. I think Skeleturge is now probably the most common fire type, even more common than Talonflame. I built my Dusnoir way back in like season 18 or something, when it had Hex that hasn't been buffed, it didn't have the buff to Astonish, didn't even have Shadow Punch or Dynamic Punch. Back then, this would be a disastrous save switch, but Dusnoir more than holds its own. Summers actually tanks the foul plays, already forced one shield of this Umbreon, and I can't quite believe it, but Dusnoir looks to take back switch. Dynamic punch, forces the opponent's final protection. Umbreon looks for that snarl farm down. Dusnoir simply will not be denied. I can't quite believe it. We've got shield advantage and switch advantage versus a dark type. Switch advantage proves to be everything. We can now align our steel type against their fairy. There's the inevitable switch out back into Skeleturge, and we now send out our dark type. Go Battle League, not always all that complicated. You just need the correct alignment and you are off to the races. Summers looks to pick up a knockout with the Brave Bird, but loses CMP, but he's still got that shield to hide behind. Of course we're investing it here. It's going to be high Skeleturge, by Skeleturge. The opponent can Fairy Wind farm us down, leaving with 1 bazillion energy. Not that you can hold more than 100, but it simply isn't going to matter. Everything that Florges can possibly learn is going to be resisted due to our steel grass typing. The opponent fire off the Moonblast. Moonblast simply doesn't get the job done. Summers like, throw another one, enjoy yourself. The opponent like, I will. They fire off yet another Moonblast. Ferrathorn, not phased, reaches the flash cannon, and that is going to be all she wrote. GG's, and thanks for playing. Heading into the next battle, we see the Pancake, or as most of you will probably call it, Unova Stunfist. The opponent say switch into Dragon Breath Giratina. It looks like once again Summers are looking for some chipping of action, firing off the flash cannon before eventually making that pivot into, I imagine, Moltres. To be honest, as their Dragon Breath, we could come to Dusnoir. But I like sending out Moltres. Of course, Moltres doesn't particularly want to see that Stunfist the opponent had in the lead position. Even looks like this Giratina, unlike the last one, doesn't even have Ancient Power. Well, actually, they do have Ancient Power. I'm not entirely sure why you Dragon Claw, then Ancient Power. I'd personally Ancient Power, fish for that boost, and then throw the Dragon Claw if you get that very lucky 10% chance. I guess they were thinking Summers wouldn't shield knowing they didn't have Ancient Power. So potentially that could have been a good play. Perhaps I'm overthinking it. Either way, Summers able to maintain that correct alignment. We send back out Ferrathorn. The opponent reveals Grumpig in the back. Summers again goes some chipping of action. This time firing off the Power Whip and then sends out Dusnoir. Dusnoir, much like Blossom I featured yesterday, has just incredible pacing. Shadow Punch is going to be 9 turns for the first 3 and 6 for the 4th, which is just ridiculous. The opponent does get a very cheeky double resisted Dynamic Punch bait. Summers correctly shields up the Shadow Ball. The opponent then makes the pivot back out into Stunfisk. Summers again going with some chippity action before inevitably sending Ferrathorn back onto the field of play. Despite Summers having the correct alignment throughout this battle, this game isn't quite over yet. As we again stayed in with some chip and dip, the opponent is going to be able to hang on to that protection and remove Ferrathorn from the field of play before the Power Whip's reach. It's now all down to Dusnoir to clean up. Summers throws the correct 3 hexes and the Shadow Punch. Shadow Punch forces the opponent's final Protect Shield. Summers opts to throw the next one immediately. However, Shadow Punch doesn't get the job done. Discharge and Mud Bomb should be survivable. I think we're very much in danger of getting fast move beat down. The opponent sends back out Grumpig. Look for the Psywave Snipe, but Dusnoir's pacing insane. We reach the Shadow Punch, picking up the knockout, and one Hex gets the job done. Oof, that pacing's nasty. Heading into the next battle, we see the big fat walrus in the lead. This is a positive matchup for Ferrathorn, as they're hitting for neutral, whereas we're hitting for super effective the entirety of the time. Walrein does have the pacing advantage here, taking only 10 turns to each Icicle Sphere as opposed to our 12 turns to the Power Whip. But look how much damage that Power Whip does. The opponent then ends up throwing on alignment, potentially setting up a full Bullet Seed farm down. We tank yet another one. Can we get that full Bullet Seed farm down? It looks like we cannot, so Summers correctly throws the Power Whip, not having to S to Protect Shield here. We win the Zero Shield matchup, leaving with a whole heap of energy. Out comes Weezing. Summers gonna fire off the Flash Cannon. I'm not sure if I would have liked to see us bank this energy, as we've got two decent answers for this, although in fairness, as the opponent has 2 Protect Shields, landing a Brave Bird would be a difficult task. As always, I'm yapping away. Summers did eventually make that pivot into Dusnoir. The opponent continued to stay in, fire off a Leaf Blade. The opponent opts to throw back to back. Summers going to invest the first protection of the game, blocking up the Leaf Blade. Trainer, you need to pivot or you're going to get farmed down. The opponent gives us a whole heap of energy, which is something you never want to do, and then send out Swampert. Swampert shields the first Shadow Punch. This time Summers is going to go for the Dynamic Punch. Dynamic Punch actually does more damage despite not getting same type attack bonus. Swampert instantly rocked below half health. Season 22 move update. The buff to Dynamic Punch means the non-stab Dynamic Punch not only actually does more damage now, it's actually more energy efficient as well, which is kind of crazy. Dynamic Punch 1.73 DP compared to Shadow Punch's 1.62 in neutral matchups. Just a point to note if you're going to use this absolute beast. In the next battle, once again, we're staring at a fire type. Summers instantly pivots into Dusnoir. Typhlosion stays in, forcing Chip and Dip, only firing off a Thunder Punch. Thunder Punch, very easily survivable, and out comes Zygarde. The super spammy Dusnoir going to start unleashing charge moves at a very alarming rate. The first Shadow Punch goes unshielded. This time Summers does go for the Dynamic Punch, as previously said, is the correct move to throw, as it is the most energy efficient route. Summers reaches yet another charge move, getting off the departing Shadow Punch, putting this Zygarde in a perfect farm down range for a little prickly bush. Even if this opponent's on Earthquake, it's only going to hit for neutral. The opponent actually firing off Bulldoze. Bulldoze also neutral, not that you'd know that, as it is such a trash move, essentially healing Ferrathorn. Summers will leave this matchup capped on energy, not this energy is going to go all that far into that Typhlosion. Summers sends out Moltres. Out comes Licky, far too thicky. This is going to be a matchup where hopefully the rework to rollout is going to do us some favours. You can see these rollouts are hitting for super effective, but aren't really adding up over time. Summers still hanging on to them 2 Protect Shields, going for the Ancient Power bait. Ancient Power actually forces the opponent's first Protect Shield. Summers really needs to start shielding, and we are going to see that shield deployed. Summers is on the back foot, but he's got 100 energy on Ferrathorn. However, now he's going to be shieldless. Can we win this game? Summers again going to fire off the Ancient Power. Is this even Ancient Power range? I'm unsure. Summers once again going to fire off the Ancient Power. We really need this to knock out. Ancient Power does pick up the knockout. Back out comes Typhlosion. We fire off 4 Sucker Punches. Transfer the Incinerate onto Ferrathorn. Fire off the Power Whip. Power Whip actually rocks the opponent insanely low, and Ferrathorn is actually going to be a Typhlosion counter confirmed. That game looked disastrous. Who was worried? I was worried, but evidently Summers wasn't, as he takes that game. In the next battle, the tough leads continue. This time Summers doesn't go to his usual safe switch with Dusnoir, instead opting for his soft counter of Galarian Moltres, and we're instantly hard punished by a Florges. Very surprised to see the opponent running Disarming Voice this season. I think most will be opting for Trailblazer Moonblast. Summers ends up farming up too much energy, looks to fire off the Brave Bird, however gets denied as we lose that charge attack priority. Once again, this looks pretty disastrous. We're going to let Summers cook. The opponent's moveset is very, very random. Why would you run Disarming Voice and Trailblaze? Disarming Voice, a pretty mid move, and Moonblast does objectively more and much better DPE. Occasionally, Jamie Finn comes out with some informative stuff. Moonblast, 6110, Disarming Voice, 4570. So yeah, I'd personally say Moonblast is just the way to go. I think if you're going to run Disarming Voice, just lack that neutral play. Not only is his opponent running a really random moveset, why are you throwing double resisted Trailblazers at a grass and steel type? Summers banks a charge move, then makes a pivot into Dusnoir, getting a very cheeky running start. Dusnoir completely core breaking the remainder of the opponent's team. The poison jabs are going to be resisted, as Ghost does resist poison, and the counters are going to be double resisted on Annihilate. Summer's going to invest the Protect Shield. Thankfully, we don't get Acid Spray baited. Dusnoir looking to close the show strong, fires off yet another Shadow Punch, rocking the opponent into the red. Summer's not messing around, looking to force that final Protect Shield, firing off the next Shadow Punch. The opponent saving that shield for Annihilate, and this is going to be game, set, and match. Dusnoir going to win the race to back-to-back charge moves, and we've got a charge move banked on Ferrathorn. We block up the Rage Fist, and the opponent now just playing the inevitable out. The first Shadow Punch forces the opponent's final Protect Shield. The second one might not quite be lethal, but we've still got a move banked on Ferrathorn. Summers actually goes to the wham, bam, combo play, uses that Power Whip, and we take that game. Heading into the next battle. We see Donphan in the lead, a commanding lead for us. We're hitting for super effective and they're only hitting for neutral. We also have the ability to fully wall their moveset unless they're very randomly on Earthquake. I don't think I've ever seen an Earthquake Donphan. Most commonly you'll see Donphan run Trailblaze, looking to vamp up that Mud Slap damage, and a Body Slam, just a cheap kind of bait move. Occasionally you see Play Rough, not that would help in this situation. It looks like this opponent's one of them players that we all hate. Invest all the shields in your lead, cheese your way through the matchup, and force the correct alignment in the back. Speaking of which, we make the pivot into Moltres and Belly Bolt hits the field of play. The opponent down both protections, they do have the alignment they want. Summers instantly no shields Moltres. Knowing Dusnoir, with access to Ghost and Fight and charge moves, cannot be walled currently in Pokemon Go. So with 2 shields, it should just be able to clean up. Summers fires off the Brave Bird, rocking Belly Bolt into the red health range. We send out Dusnoir. Dusnoir going to invest the Protect Shield before looking for that full Hex farm down. The opponent actually YOLO a Zap Cannon. That is a huge shield deployed. Out comes Feraligatr. The opponent did have the alignment they wanted in the back, but Dusnoir up a Protect Shield. Should be looking prime to sweep. Summers fires off one further Shadow Punch. This won't quite be lethal. Are we going to go for a catch attempt? There is the catch attempt. The opponent unable to hold their energy, and they full send an Ice Beam. That was super unnecessary. Dusnoir re-enters the arena, fires off the Shadow Punch. Shadow Punch will be moving Donphan from the field of play. 1 Hex going to remove Gator, and we save 1 shield for next season. GG's. Heading into the next battle. Breed Ferrathorn into Drapion. Ferrathorn kind of unique, outside of like Kartana that shares the exact same grass steel type, and I can't think of another grass type that resists poison, and steel double resists poison, whereas grass takes super effective, translating into single resisted damage. The opponent fire off a crunch, then pivot into Giratina. Giratina chipped with the flash cannon, and out comes Moltres. The dark poisons are somewhat of an issue for this team, as they have the ability to wall all 3 of our quick moves. This opponent actually opted for Shadow Claw, which is also resisted by a dark type in. It doesn't look like I've got Ancient Power either, which should set up Summers a massive farm down, leaving with all the energy in the world. Come on trainer, send back out that Drapion, we just want a little chat. The opponent reluctant to send out Drapion, send out Corviknight, so Summers are forced to go for neutral Ancient Powers as opposed to the resisted Brave Bird. Summers fired off the Ancient Power. Did we just boost there? I believe we did get a boost, and not that it really matters, as that Ancient Power still did very little to the big bulky Corviknight. Summers tanks the Aqua Tail. No, we actually make the Brave Bird. Boosted Brave Bird forces that Protect Shield. Summers sends back out Ferrathorn. Ferrathorn can survive a crunch from this range. The opponent fire off the crunch. The never ever Poison Sting farming us down. Summers going to invest the first Protect Shield, shielding up an Aqua Tail bait. The opponent then attempts to catch a Flash Cannon onto Corviknight unsuccessfully. Summers shows great composure, banks his energy, sends out Dusnoir. Corviknight might be bulky, but the issue is it hits like a wet noodle. Shadow Dusnoir tanked that Iron Head like it was absolutely nothing. Dusnoir with his lightning fast pacing, already the next Shadow Punch. Shadow Punch rocks the opponent into the red. Unless this is a payback, this should be an easy tank. The opponent fire off yet another Iron Head. Dusnoir gets that farm down. leaving only one hex off the Dynamic Punch. Dynamic Punch hits for neutral, rocking Drapion into the red health range. Summers gives the opponent that wham, bam, combo play, that little two-piece chicken meal with that flash cannon served on a hot plate, and we take that game. Why'd I have to mention a little two-piece chicken meal? I'm hungry. Heading into the next battle, we see Drifblim in the lead. I'm quite surprised to see us stay in, as we've got two better responses in the back. Hopefully the opponent isn't running Mystical Fire, as that would be double super effective damage. Thankfully, it's just the Icy Wind. Ferrathorn withstands the damage, fires off the Flash Cannon debuff, doesn't even do half their health. Ferrathorn once again about to get debuffed, and I'm going to anticipate us looking to switch out. The opponent actually go for the Shadow Ball that does do more. Dusnoir hits the field of play, goes straight for the Shadow Punch. Shadow Punch forces the opponent's first Protect Shield. This is almost certainly going to be an annoying Icy Wind debuff. Summers more than happy to shield up the Icy Wind, the opponent not wanting to risk getting farmed down, send out Licky, far too thicky, and Dusnoir about to unleash the Dynamic Punch. When I first built this thing, if I saw a Lickitung, I'd probably just top left. However, Dusnoir now have access to Dynamic Punch, even debuff to put him in the red, which is kind of absurd. With that in mind, if we wasn't debuffed, 2 would be picking up a knockout. The opponent fire off the Shadow Ball, removing us from the field of play. Summers sends back out Ferrathorn. Ferrathorn goes straight for the Power Whip, picks up the knockout, and Summers is spamming the switch, hoping it's knocked down Drifblim before the opponent's switch timer is up. Unfortunately, the opponent's switch timer is up, and out comes Cradiddy. Bullet Seed's going to be resisted. However, the Rock Tomb is going to be hitting for super effective and continue to debuff our attack. Summer's going to tank the first, knowing the opponent's never ever Bullet Seed farming us down. Another reason I really like Ferrathorn in this meta is Cradiddy. I would say it's common, but I think this is the first Cradiddy sighting we've seen. I've seen it in more or less like 60% of games that Ferrathorn is a complete wall to it. As the opponent shielded the first 2 charge moves, we're able to land the Brave Bird. But debuff that didn't do all that much damage. The opponent banks a charge move, meaning Summers is going to need to leave with a charge move to win this battle. We get the perfect farm down leaving with the Ancient Power. You couldn't ask for better than that. Summers wins the charge attack priority and takes that game. Heading into the next battle, we see Ferrathorn into another balloon. Let's see if Summers plays this the same or does make a pivot. It looks like he's more than happy to stay in. Please don't be Mystical Fire. I've actually tanked the Mystical Fire to the face on my Fortress and got cleanly one shot. We do see Summers make an adjustment from the last battle. This time, opts to bank his energy and make the pivot into Dusnoir. Dusnoir goes straight for the Shadow Punch, forcing the first Protect Shield of the game. Summers going to match. I was going to say, probably getting bait with an Icy Wind, but it's a good job he's playing and not me, as the opponent full sent the Shadow Ball. Dusnoir fires off the next Shadow Punch, looks for the Hex farm down, but unable to get it. Drifblim, much like Dusnoir, very, very appreciative of Hex's now lightning fast energy generation, able to reach one further Shadow Ball, picking up the knockout. Out comes Primate. Summers gonna fire off the Power Whip lands. We then see the pivot into Moltres, baiting out Lapras. Summers goes straight for the Ancient Power because it hits for super effective and has that chance of a boost. RNG gods say no boost for you, buddy. Even if it's an Ice Beam, one Ice Beam isn't lethal and the sideways are double resisted. The opponent fire off the Sparkling Aura. Summers goes straight for the next Ancient Power. The opponent putting all their hopes and dreams on Primate, but Primate is rapidly running out of HP. The opponent is going to need to full send a close combat to pick up the knockout. We see the instant no shield deployed. The opponent fire off the Rage Fist bait, then opt to throw back to back. Summers going to invest the Protect Shield, knowing the opponent's forced to shield this Ancient Power. As we made that adjustment, banking our energy on Ferrathorn. You know it's coming, I know it's coming. Does the opponent know it's coming? Perhaps, but there's nothing they can do. We go for that combo play and take that game. I really like how Summers made an adjustment in that Drifblim lead, as that banked energy on Ferrathorn come in clutch. In the next battle, we see Lapras in the lead. The opponent says no thank you, say switch into Malamar. Malamar gets greeted with the Power Whip and then hard punished by Galarian Moltres. Galarian Moltres can tank 2 superpowers and then get a huge farm down. Holy, the opponent actually fire off a Hyper Beam. I did not see that one coming. Moltres gonna fire off the Ancient Power. Ancient Power isn't lethal. We're able to Sucker Punch farm down and we get the boost. Out comes Shadow Nidoqueen, usually very oppressive with their Poison Jab damage, but unfortunately unable to Poison Jab farm down Moltres before the Brave Birds reach. Brave Bird forces the first Protect Shield. Summers sends out Ferrathorn, as it is the bulkiest member of the team, or at least the remaining team. Anticipating the opponent going straight Earth Power. Is this another Earth Power? It looks like Summers says no, or perhaps he doesn't really care as Dusnoir, upper Protect Shield, should have all the tools to clean up. It's just a Poison Fang. We tank the damage, fire off the Power Whip forces the opponent's final Protect Shield. We send out Dusnoir. Dusnoir goes straight for the Shadow Punch, Shadow and Shadow Climb, picks up the knockout, back out, comes Lapras. The opponent doesn't want that work, and they concede the match. In the next battle, we see Golurk in the lead. Golurk, one of the few ground types that I'd actually say he's got a neutral matchup against Ferrathorn. That's because they've got access to Dynamic Punch that does a hell of a lot of damage. Summers fires off the Power Whip. Are we going to call it? No, Summers invests the Protect Shield. The opponent full sends a Dynamic Punch once again. I'm glad Summers is playing and not me. This means this can only be a Shadow Punch, as it takes 5 Mud Slaps to the first Dynamic Punch and 4 for the second. Summers, with great knowledge of the count, knows he's able to tank that charge move. He sets up Dusnoir with that shield advantage. Dusnoir comes straight in. Golurk doesn't switch out. The opponent gets removed from the field of play with the Shadow Punch, and out comes Golisopod. Golisopod going to be greeted with yet another Shadow Punch. Shadow Punch doesn't do too much. The opponent doesn't overfarm by much, and Summers just going to elect to let Dusnoir go down. Aqua Jet isn't quite lethal, giving the opponent a small bit of farm. Summers elects to send out Moltres and looks to start getting head and energy. The opponent stays in. Look to fire off an X-Scissor. So X is actually mistaken this battle. Or this matchup, I should say. Both X-Scissor and Aqua Jet hit for neutral. Both moves are 40 energy. However, X-Scissor does 65 damage, whereas Aqua Jet would have done 5 more, as it is 40-70. Summers sends back out Ferrathorn, shields up the Icicle Sphere, goes straight for the Power Whip, looking to move Walrein from the field of play. Can the opponent get enough farm to reach 2 charge moves? That's 4, 5, 6. They're 4 off. I believe we're not 4 off the Ancient Power, so there should be a dub for us. 1, 2, 3. All of Summers gets the perfect farm down, although in fairness, we could have thrown the Ancient Power 1 sooner. Either way, we take that game. In the next battle, we see yet another fire lead. We say switch into Dusnoir, baiting out Gator. Is Summers going to fight for switch? We land the Shadow Punch, the opponent then throws on alignment, and we see the instant shield deployed. Summers smells the opportunity to take back switch. We shield up the Hydro Cannon. Summers, unlike our opponent, throws at optimal timing. It's really easy using a 3-turn move into a 2-turn move, just for an odd number. Summers looks to fire off the next Shadow Punch, but does get outpaced. Are we going to try and fully Hex farm it down? Summers, not wanting to risk a farm down, opts for a 1 further Hex and the next Shadow Punch. The opponent gives up on switch advantage. How important is switch in this battle? I guess pretty important, to be honest. Anything they've got in the back, it's got to be objectively better than that Skeledirge. Out comes Guzzlord, able to reach the Dynamic Punch. Dynamic Punch lands, rocking them instantly below half health. Summers, of course, going to realign. Ferrathorn wants no part of that Ghost and Fire type. So when you're in a situation like this, you've just got to continually look top right. When you want to throw a charge move at Guzzlord, just pause, wait for that Dragon Tail to start. There's the attempted catch. Summers banks 100 energy and Moltres hits the field of play. Unfortunately for us, this opponent has Disarming Voice, but Summers still going to be able to reach an Ancient Power before the second Disarming Voice is reached. Hopefully we've Sucker Punched him in a range where Ferrathorn can pick up the knockout. The opponent actually opted to overfarm by 1, which is a huge mistake. They take 2 further Sucker Punches. We send back out Ferrathorn. Summers, despite being capped on energy, throws 1 Bullet Seed, knowing the Incinerate will not register Power Whip, picks up the knockout, back out, comes Guzzlord. The opponent literally cannot knock us out with 1 move. They fire off the Brutal Swing, which does absolutely nothing. Summers has that Flash Cannon reached, and once again going to overcome a Fire type lead. GG's, and thanks for playing. And that is just about going to wrap things up for today's Shoutcast. I think Ferrathorn is an absolute beast in this meta. Less high risk, high reward than it was last season. To be honest, Summers actually saw far more fire types than I was anticipating, but it still put in so much work. Dusnoir now currently ranked 6th on PvPoke, and you can see why. The thing is just a beast. So if you're enjoying the content, smash that like button if you're new. Consider subscribing if you like your battles featured on my channel. My battle submission form is linked down below. And as always, a huge thanks to everyone for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.